Hi, my name is Sarah Jane Robertson, and I am a public health major and international development minor. And this summer I worked with the Brinton Family Health and Healing Center. I'll be referring to it as that and BFHHC throughout this video. So the Brinton Family Health and Healing Center opened in April of 2012, and it currently exists on the second level of the Ruth U. Fertel Clinic, and that's all part of the Tulane School of Medicine. So it's all technically housed underneath the School of Medicine. The BFHHC has a few missions, but the principal mission and definitely the mission that I resonated most with throughout my internship with them is to harness the resources in the clinic and the community to creatively get people invested in their health and the health of their community. So I think the key word in that mission statement really is invested. So there could be 100 different resources and programs and interventions in a specific community, but if the community members aren't interested or invested or don't want to be part of those different programs, then there may as well not be any programs. So what the BFHHC does really well is making sure they tailor their programs to the needs of the specific community that they're in, which is the Mid-City community. It's located in Mid-City, serves Mid-City community members. It's on Broad Street. So it's right in the middle of Mid-City. So the BFHHC really strives to get the word out to different community members in Mid-City and get them excited about taking control of their health, especially when there might not be the best resources available. The BFHHC really does a good job in using specific tailored strategies that these community members can use in their daily lives. And they also make sure that they get a lot of feedback from the community members on if they're learning things that are relevant to where they live, what they'd like to know more about, what they'd like to talk more about. So we definitely make sure that we get feedback from the community members in order to guide our programming, to guide our upcoming programming. So the BFHHC also works as a conduit between the clinic, that Ruth U. Fertel Clinic that's on the bottom floor, and lots of other community partners that they have, helping them to access a lot of different affordable, healthy resources in their community. So the main thing that I worked with this summer was the Crew to Lose class, which is a weekly class that just talks about nutrition, healthy living, some of the other examples of topics. We talked about meal planning, we talked about counting calories, we talked about whole grains versus refined grains. So we just talk a lot of different healthy living topics. So it also functions as a sort of support group. So we have a community member leading these discussions, and each week I've seen the different community members, along with the peer leader who's leading the discussions, talk about the different strategies that they use in their, where they live in their neighborhoods. If, for instance, someone will have walked to class that day, and they'll talk about, which routes did you take? Which streets did you walk on? Were they shady? I always want to be more active, but it's just too hot outside. So they share different strategies that work for them in their specific community. Back to just what Crew to Lose is. It's a weekly class. It's held Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And it's the same presentation each day. So each week has one topic. So you pick which class works best for your schedule, and you hopefully go to that same class every week. But the class on Thursdays is entirely in Spanish. So it's for, there's a really large Spanish-speaking community in Mid-City. So Thursdays is for them to come and access something that's tailored for the Spanish-speaking community of Mid-City. So they're peer-led, and they're culturally tailored to best serve where they're living. And what Crew to Lose really reminded me of is the cultural competence reading that we had earlier in the summer. I think one of the examples of cultural competence is the fact that there is a day that's entirely in Spanish, because there is a very large Spanish-speaking population, and oftentimes there aren't a lot of resources that are just in Spanish, at least that I've seen in New Orleans. So I think it's really awesome that the BFHHC offers a day that's entirely in Spanish. And I think to add on to that, another level of cultural competence that exists there is that the Spanish-speaking classes, while the topic might be the same, the content of the class won't be the same. So, for example, like they won't go over the same healthy recipes as the other classes do. We had one day where we talked about how to make a healthier version of red beans and rice, because that's a very popular recipe with our participants on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. But for the Spanish-speaking class on Thursday, we talked about healthy snacks, and especially popcorn, because popcorn was very popular in the Spanish-speaking class, and learning how to season bags of popcorn differently and still have it be healthy. So that's an example of cultural competence. And I think also the fact that we have peer leaders facilitating these discussions, that's also another example of cultural competence. And this class, they're all completely free, and all of the resources that the BFHHC connects community members with, it's all free. So it's definitely, it's affordable and as accessible as it can be for the Mid-City community. So something that I learned in my internship is that I really liked the demographic of my Cru de Luz class. So I went to the Tuesday class every Tuesday from 12 to 1, which sometimes people would show up at 11:30, sometimes they'd show up at 12:30. It was a really flexible class period, but the main demographic of my class were older, like 60s, 70s. There was one woman in her 90s, older Black men and women. And I'm someone who has typically worked with younger populations, like I've babysat a lot, or I've just worked with middle-aged people. So I haven't really worked with older people, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I think that's really valuable to know, especially in a public health career. So I really enjoyed that, and that was a big learning experience for me. We had really great conversations each week, so I definitely look forward to working with older populations in the future. And I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but I also definitely learned more just about the Mid-City community, and the different things that are important to them and health concerns that affect them. So that's definitely something that I learned about. So I just have some pictures here that I'm going to go through. So this is another one. Cru de Luz is one of the resources that the BFHHC offers. Another one is the Soul Steppers Walking Club. So this is also just a free group that meets Saturday mornings in Mid-City and just does this walking path. And the peer leader from my Cru de Luz class, he would go every Saturday morning, and he would talk about how he was always the last one, and he would make sure that no one got left behind. So it's for people of all paces and athletic abilities, and you just walk. So it's an opportunity to be active without having a really intense workout. So Soul Steppers is something else that the BFHHC hosts. This is with the clinic. These are just the other opportunities that we offer to the community members, our participants. This is the health advocacy program, so people can schedule appointments with these people to just talk about diabetes, hypertension, obesity, smoking, those kind of issues if they have any questions or questions about those things or different ways that they can manage those conditions. Something else that they offer is the computer literacy classes, especially since the population is older. They expressed interest in computer literacy classes and knowing more about how to be competent with a computer. They talk about just computer basics, Microsoft Word, the internet, email, and how to have a good resume, which might not apply to the older population, but that's just something else that they offer. This is just an example of one of the Spanish flyers. So for the different resources and flyers and the different things that we offer, we always make sure that there is a Spanish equivalent, so our Spanish-speaking participants aren't missing out. And this is the Spanish Crew de Luz flyer. And this was one of my projects this year. That's the old flyer right there, and then this is the flyer that I worked to update, so it was just a little less busy. So you can see that there are different, all the different topics are on here, and we still have that here, but this is one of my projects this summer, was making this flyer. And this is an example of something we would go over during class. Ingredient substitutions, just ways to make small changes to live healthier. So just to close out, I would say that what public service means to me throughout this internship, it's a constantly changing definition, but I would say that for me it just means to do good and to offer my help in areas that I'm passionate about and in areas that will benefit from my help. So it's not just giving back in a way that is good for me. I want to make sure that I'm also benefiting the people around me and that my help is needed, and just being intentional about that. So being intentional about service is really important, and I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed my internship this summer.